Thanks for having me. So I'm a VP of Data and Analytics at Comcast. I used to be a business objects user, doing lots of dashboard design in tools like Excelsius, and then over the years, I've really kind of migrated into the Tableau space, doing a lot of reporting and building out kind of those sort of applications at an enterprise scale, which has been fantastic. But along the way, I've really found that there's this need, sort of this extra add-on piece for this appy-like experience, being able to sort of go above and beyond for things that are not quite kind of like your typical BI report. But also need to be data-driven, building out data-driven applications and so forth. And sort of over the past probably 10 years, I found that it's great when you have an application development team sort of building alongside of you. But other than that, it's really been tricky to figure out, like, how do you make sure that you have those people, that they're dedicated to the work that you're doing and so forth. And so a tool like Squirrel shows up. And I'm very, very interested in sort of the potential here, because it's always so challenging to sort of get these resources to sort of build out other business applications, because it's really, I think, just kind of a tough area. I also teach adjunct at Temple University here in the United States. And so just kind of working with a lot of, techniques and so forth, and thinking about how do we solve these challenges. And I've just been blown away by the potential of Squirrel. So really happy to be here and kind of show you some of where I've been experimenting. So today I'm going to do something that apparently nobody else has done yet so far, which is to build an app start to finish in our session. So there's no way that could go poorly, as far as I can see. So we're going to do it right here live. I've got the desktop version. I don't have this fancy online, was a PWA version that Rich has. So we're gonna get into it. What we're going to start making is a color sampler app. I love, part of what I love about Squirrel is the fact that you can position anything anywhere, kind of as was mentioned earlier, but then you can also dynamically change the color of everything on the fly. And using other tools in the past several years, it's been a major limitation. You can sometimes, if you pre-build every aspect, every combination, or every choice, you might be able to make it data-driven or dynamic, but it takes a lot of work, and there's no way we'd be able to do that in less than 30 minutes and still have time for questions. So we're going to do that with Squirrel. That's my hope and intention, and that's where I think it'll be pretty cool if we can make it work. So I built a larger version of this and put it out on LinkedIn. It's kind of interesting to see that took a life of its own. Somebody then basically created the same thing again with Power BI and put it in there to be able to generate templates. And I'm thinking, well, this is exactly what I'm sort of considering here, is that you can either make it all dynamic, so you can change it all up on the fly, have a completely different looking report. We think about the light and the dark mode and being able to do something about toggling there, or possibly just, setting up all these configuration options ahead of time to have, a consistent look and feel across all of your reporting. Really thinking about there's a great opportunity in branding for whatever it is that you're building, an app or a dashboard or anything like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to build this thing from the start to the finish. We're going to be able to select different themes and change the different colors in here. Here's a brief sampling of where I've been playing with Squirrel 365. I feel like I'm just blown away by all that I'm able to do. It's a very fully functional program. I was able to make my own Wordle once I figured out what Wordle was. That same weekend, I then made my own version in Squirrel, and was blown away that I was able to accomplish that. Got some interactive app-like things for my phone, and then made some other dashboards and recreated visualizations that I thought were cool. And now I've really been able to produce just about anything I can imagine so far. So this is the app we're going to make. We're going to have a couple theme choices that we can click on some buttons to swap it out. And then really the inspiration was that somebody posted a Coolors.co link to a palette and suggested, oh, you could use this in a dashboard design. I was thinking, well, that's fantastic. What if you can make that completely dynamic? So that's what we're going to do. So it'll all be in the slides. We're going to go through. It's going to be pretty fast, so totally get it if you're not following along. But hopefully you'll get the slides later and try to build along with me if you don't do it right now. Just kind of joking with other panelists on the side. It's like I really love this program. I'd love for more people to get engaged and give it a shot and be able to talk about it because it's just a lot of fun. So ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to build about 12 objects in here. So not too many. Rich talked about 1,000 plus in that agenda, and that blows my mind. But having to build this stuff at enterprise scale, I'm always looking for simple. Simple is better, which is part of the reason why I really, really love the new repeating container. I feel like that just gives me so much power when I can build one row. So we're not going to get into that right now, but we're going to go ahead and tackle this with 12 objects, not too bad. And a couple simple spreadsheet elements in here. And the key is that we're going to be able to take that Coolors URL. We're going to use some simple spreadsheet formulas, and we're going to tear that URL apart, get the hex codes, and then we're going to be able to push those hex codes into the objects and color them dynamically. Being able to do something like that in PowerPoint would be amazing. So I'm also incredibly excited about being able to push some of this stuff into PowerPoint, or maybe even just creating more PowerPoints and PDFs using the product that we make in Squirrel. So I'm going to move this to the side and follow along and bring you through the actual real version as we go. So this is not a cooking show. We're not putting it in the oven and taking it out pre-baked at the end. We're gonna go ahead and build the whole thing live and show you how easy it really can be. I'll admit that there's a lot of options, and I started using Squirrel before the quick panel was there, so I certainly appreciate that. But once you get used to it, I feel like it's incredibly easy and fast to just create all kinds of things. So first of all, I want to make it mobile size for this example. I'm going to adjust the container or the canvas. So I'm going to just click in the background and come over here and change my width and my height of my container canvas. So 380 wide by 610 high. And my phone might not look like your phone. So that's also where I'm super excited to spend a little bit more time with the app, the add-in for size and width, because I think that could be really powerful to sort of make it look fantastic on everybody's screen. All right. Paul says, let's get cooking. Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to check my background color. One thing I wanted to do was make it off-white, just so then I can kind of make it pop a little bit more by putting a background on it with an image or a shape. So I'm going to make this DF, 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 and that'll make it a gray color. I think that this either is pretty similar to the background. We can even check it here, like on your publish options. Exactly. So when you publish in Squirrel, the area outside of your canvas will have this color. If you want to make it seamless and white, you just go ahead and code this to be all Fs, 6 Fs. But right now we're going to make it gray, and then we're going to put a background on top of it. So for our first of 12 objects, we're going to take a rectangle, and we're just going to draw it out here. And we don't have to fill the whole area, and we don't have to make it perfect either. But roughly aligned to the center. And then if we use these options, I guess when we start to get multiple elements in here, the snap to grid is a huge improvement. Just watching Rich talk about that one, it's like that really helps a lot. We'll go over that in just a moment. So I'm going to take my rectangle and just make it white. At some point, I could make this whole thing dynamic, and I just love that I can attach it all to different cells in the spreadsheet model and just be able to change anything on the fly. But we'll keep it simple for now. And then I'm going to round out the corners in here, as too much, probably around 20. Go ahead and type in here. Oops. 24. Give that a shot. So it's some nice lightly rounded corners in here. You can use the arrow keys to center it just a little bit better. And there are the arrange options to be able to center horizontally and vertically. I really like this functionality. It's interesting because just this morning, again, as an avid Tableau user, and certainly excited about using the extension capabilities in Tableau with Squirrel. That's probably the main area that I'm personally focused on. There was a recommendation that Tableau please allow rounded corners, and it's like, well, no, it's just here by default in this tool. So that's fantastic. So we have our background. Now we're gonna go ahead and let's see, we're going to add our buttons. So we need some buttons to do something. We're going to build from the bottom up. So we need our theme buttons. Let's see. So those are pretty easy under controls. We have a push button. We can grab that and we can just draw it out here. And then I love the quick set options. But I already have a rounded corner button. That seems pretty good. I might want to make it lighter here. So if I use the same color as the background, I could use this DF, DF, DF. And just as Rich showed us earlier, it automatically figures out that I want to give me a better contrast on the label. So I don't even have to edit this. Clicking on my button, I can give it a title like theme 1. And I'll just make my buttons and come back and label them after. Actually, thinking about it, what I'm probably better off to do is set up my spreadsheet. And because with the button, if you go ahead and connect everything ahead of time, and then when you copy and paste that, you can push all the changes through. I do know and love the improvements where you can select multiple items and link them all together. But I found for my own use and repeatability that if I set something up once, get it to work completely, it's a lot easier and faster just to go tweak those settings to not miss anything later. So I'm going to go check out my Excel lineup. And really what I'm going to need to do is when I click the button, it's going to insert the URL somewhere. Because I want to be able to have like a default where none was selected, and then bring that forward. So I'm going to start around A2, and I'm just going to go ahead and label it in here. When it first gets started, it gets really easy to not kind of go through the steps and take it easy on yourself. And then when I come back, it's a mess. The other thing I find is naming canvas options or objects, because what's bound to happen is if you create something cool and share it with other people, they'll say, that's fantastic. Can I see your source file? And then you're like, absolutely not. I'm sorry. It's too big of a mess. I can't share it with you. So I do my best to try to rename these things while I'm in here. That way I don't have to worry about the mess when friends want to see it. So we can say theme 1 button. So the button is going to insert a value somewhere. Trying to keep track of those things. I use the highlighter most often, predominantly the yellow, to see this is where my canvas is going to insert elements into my spreadsheet model and use that to keep track of it. I usually use gray or dark gray for areas where I just basically want a blank, and I need to make sure I don't put something in that blank because I'm probably using a button to blank out another cell by moving that cell to one of these insert locations. And then I usually use kind of the bright blue for something that I have to manually input myself. Whatever color scheme that you use, just think about like having some of that with your organization. As we talked about some of these more complex models, I feel like it really helps me keep it apart. So I want to be able to insert a URL that has, let's see, grab it here. So here's a Coolors example that I've pulled up. So I'm going to use this as my default starting point. I'm just going to copy this URL and paste it into my spreadsheet model. All right. So I'm going to label this as my default. And what I'm thinking is if nobody's selected something, they haven't entered their own, then I want to be able to have it come in and insert that somewhere. So pretty much what will happen is we'll put an input box on here. It'll write into this insert. But if somebody hasn't selected one once, and they come into this app for the first time, there needs to be sort of a default experience. So my thought is that we'll go ahead and display the values. Either we'll take the default or we'll take what's been inserted. So we just need to break this apart. When I put this together, really what I had done ahead of time without creating, a more complex formula to find sort of where the dashes are and everything else, I figured out what the positions would be on each of these. So apparently I didn't make it easy on myself to write those down, but let's go ahead and start breaking this apart. So each of these, we're going to have 5 colors in our color scheme. You could make it as robust as you wanted, but we're just going to go ahead and keep it easy. And then I'm going to need to know where the starting point is on each of these. So I'll write these in. Again, you could make it super dynamic. But for now, I believe that the starting point is cell 28. And then basically each of these hex numbers is going to be 6 places from that. And then the next starting point should be the 7th position after. So just with some simple spreadsheet formulas, whoops, the cell above, I'm going to go ahead and add 7 because it should be 7 places from there. And then I'll figure out in a moment if I've actually done my math well. Like to format things so it's nice and neat later. So we'll start and then we'll get our hex number and we'll see if we can pull that from the URL. I feel like in all things dashboarding, data visualization, and so forth, use a lot of text parsing formulas. So here I'm just going to use a mid formula. So figure out, okay, from the URL that we've entered, and that's the default. So I'm actually going to get it from the display because I want that to be dynamic. If somebody enters a new one, I want it to use that instead of the default. So I'll pick it up from the cell B5, and I'm going to go ahead and put $signs in front of the B and the 5. That way, wherever I use that cell, it'll go ahead and dynamically pick it up. So I can just write this formula once if I write it correctly. The start number is going to be this start position here. And we know that the hex number is characters. So starting at the number that we determined on the left and for 6 characters. So I haven't written this formula yet. It's going to be a simple if statement. So if this insert box up here, and I'm not going to carry this formula out, so I don't have to worry about locking any cells. So if B2 equals, I'm just going to put double quotes and double quotes. So if it's blank, just like as you would write this kind of formula in Excel, then I'm going to use the default, click on that. Otherwise, I will use what's been inserted. And we'll use this for our theme buttons as well. So we'll have the input, people can paste in something and it will write into this insert cell. Or if we have a theme button, the button can write into the same cell and take that. So it looks like we're picking up a hex number. We're going to go ahead and carry this formula down one. It looks like it's working. So I think we're good. We can keep, then this will basically move it out by 7 characters and pick up all the hex numbers. And there we go. We've got 5 hex numbers. We're going to highlight this and just center align it. There we go. And then the next piece that I'll need for the buttons is I'll need a couple other examples to be able to write into this, just to give people some ideas of themes that they could create. So I should have my window. Here's Coolors. So I need, I've found that Coolors can give me a couple different URLs, and really I've determined the right positioning for one of the types that has this palette in here. I figured out that there could be giving like a generator or other stuff in here. So I just need to make sure that I'm using a consistent palette URL size. And that's where if I were to build it again, I'd probably make it a little bit more robust to be able to automatically find where these were. So this is 5 colors that will work for me. I'm going to go ahead and make my other default themes down here. So theme 1, theme 2, and theme 3. And I'll just paste first one in there. And all I'm going to do is just scroll down and find a couple more. That's going to be too much information. So let's see, we'll get this blue one. So just open up that palette. Get that URL. Add one more. All right, so I've got 3 different color palettes that I've got my default, and then I can insert a value in here. So my theme 1 button to get this set up while I have, so we'll build from the bottom up. I need a source, so I'm going to take one of the themes down here, and I'm going to write it into that insert formula. So I can do so much from this quick set options. I'll source the data from that first URL. And then I'll use the destination into this yellow cell. Makes it so easy to find when you're going through these options by using that highlight. I could go ahead and make the label dynamic as well. So I could just click here to pick up theme 1, and I don't have to worry about retyping those. And then just to copy and paste those buttons, just Control C, Control V, and this automatic alignment is so nice. To just set up. Oops, my office is, I think so, not here anymore. I'm apparently not moving enough. So I'll line these up and I'll make one more copy. Once I have them set up, the alignment features in here are great. They remind me so much of like what you can do in PowerPoint. So under arrange, I can make them really distribute actually horizontally. There we go. Make sure they're evenly spaced, and then set up second button. So first the label, and then the source data, and it will have the same destination, so I don't have to do anything else there. Got to keep moving so we have enough time to get this done. So label, I probably didn't grab the right one. Let's button text, theme 3 and source data. Theme 3. And if I want to make sure that this is working correctly, I can just go ahead and look at my spreadsheet model, go to debug, and give it a shot. So I can see that the theme 1, 2, and 3 are writing the values into the insert and picking up the new hex numbers. So we're in pretty good shape. I'll move these 3 down. So I can hold down the shift key and move them together, use the arrow keys to move them slightly, or I could drag them around if I wanted to. Above this, we're going to put a donut chart. So I'll come up here to charts, and the donut chart really is just the pie chart with a hole in it. So I'll draw that out here. It can be nice and simple for the purposes that we're using here. So I will get my values. I'll link those down here. Just need some placeholder values so I can use these start numbers just to give it some area, and they're all roughly equal. So then they all are visible. I can turn off my legend and do some other stuff. So it even starts with a default to the pie chart. So that's great. I don't need a title, so I will take the title out there, and I will turn off show legend, and it fills the space. We'll go ahead and test that in a minute once we build our color palette bar as well. So back to being able to link so many things, fonts, shapes, etc. It's just fantastic, I think, to be able to build an object like this, the square, and I can go reference it to the color. I'm going to make sure that it's a true square, so I'll make it 44 by 44. And this is an area where I'm using the all properties, but a lot of what I'm looking to do, I can do from the quick setup. And then I'll just link it to the first hex number. Oh, and I'm noticing here that I probably needed, I was probably expecting a title. Oh, I didn't link the color. That's where I went wrong. So my pie chart, all properties, and then this is the data. Values, labels, it's data insertion. So this is where it's just, and Rich talked about kind of like some of the quick setup where it is a lot easier. But here you have to go ahead and choose the series colors. So we do series label 1, and we're just going to go ahead and connect these because they're all next to each other. It should be pretty fast to go through the 5. These are the sort of things that when I find something to be too tedious, I'll go back to the Squirrel team and tell them, hey, can we have a better way to do X, Y, Z? And they have just been amazing at sort of improving things like the repeat container. So I'm going to double check the values here. I'm doing something slightly wrong. Maybe my labels need to be 5. And I'll do my values again. There we go. That was it. I needed to have the right number of labels for it to work correctly. And there we go. Now we have this purple to blue color scheme. Everything's set up. No pressure. Just over 10 minutes left, and we need time for questions. So we'll make it quick. I'm going to copy and paste these boxes out and go ahead and line them up. We need 5 in total. And I'm not going to, so the snap to grid is fantastic here. I'm not going to worry about getting them perfectly sized. I'll just drag it to be center aligned. And then each of these I can link to the color. Third one. Fourth and fifth. So each one of these is clearly different. So that all looks like that's linked properly. We need an input box so we can put in our own custom color scheme going forward. So I'll put a text input. I'll draw that here. Got some default placeholder text. So I can say enter your Coolors URL. This is going to drop its value into our insert here. So back to the yellow highlighted cell. Let me expand this so I can take a look. Want everything to move down a little bit so I have enough room for a title. Drag my donut chart. These can probably overlap a little bit on the top here. Make sure that's center aligned. And I'll give it a title. Let's see where I can spend a little bit more time to clean up my naming convention, but we're getting really close. So I'll left align it. I'll go for something more like a title, main title 24. That seems good. And then so we're really close. We'll take a look at it. We can debug it one more time just to make sure that everything is going in the spot where it needs to. So we'll test out our themes. So theme 1, 2, and 3. And then we'll come back out to Coolors to find another one where we can, let's see, I want to make sure it's very different or different enough that we can see it. It has the palette set up in the URL. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this one and see if it's going to work when I paste it in. Let me go ahead and go to the full preview. Make sure that my custom themes work. And then if I come in here, might want to do something to be able to clear this out, but really I can just control all and paste this in. And there we go. We have our custom URL and made a little app that would work on my phone to be able to test out some different color schemes. There we go. So that's what it comes down to. Then the rest of it is all just taking a few extra moments to clean it up and so forth. And that's where I find just kind of doing my best to be as clean as possible in my layout in the spreadsheet model, doing my best to be as clean as possible in the components. And then it feels like you can just do all kinds of stuff with this. Now you can do sliding elements. As Mel shared earlier, the dynamic sizing container, we can make this, iPad ready. We can make it a desktop app and so forth. So nothing went horribly wrong in 30 minutes. So that's sort of amazing. Feels like a new record. I'll go ahead and open it up. Any questions?
That was awesome.
a
Josh.
lot, I'm sure. So I
Yeah.
apologize, but again, hopefully, if you're looking to give something a shot, you will be able to follow these slides along later and go ahead and create something and let me know how
No,
it turns out.
I think it's great. I think you should start your own cooking show on national TV. Cooking with Squirrel.
Cooking with Squirrel.
There you go, and just show different squirrel recipes like this. That was totally awesome, and yes, you did it in under time as well. So that was really good. I actually wanted to see your Tetris one that you did as well.
Oh yeah, so all kinds of stuff out there. I mean, we can take a look just a little bit further. I also have I recorded this as a video on how to make it, so I can put that into the chat in just a moment. But yeah, let me share some of the stuff got going on in my in my recent files. That'll probably give you a sense as to sort of some of the possibilities. So we'll come back here to the desktop. Oh, and I didn't publish it, but ultimately from the preview menu, you can come out here and you can publish it to your project manager and then make all kinds of stuff. So some of the recent things that I've been working on, made a custom chart using the repeat container to be able to create each one of these as a row and create a dumbbell chart with some custom tooltips here, really just using the hotspot and being able to hover over it. And then was able to just use the random function in here to create random data, or dynamically swap out any of these sort of elements like coloring. Let's see, I'll show you the repeat container here using just a list of online, found a data set that had a list of recipes and links to the images. So I put this in here with the repeat container, similar to what Rich showed earlier with the people. And so it's just 3 labels and an image, and then they're all in the container. So I can just scroll down through them. And when I click through, basically it swaps it out. I have 2 containers side by side. And when I click one, it will populate what's in the other container, but I'm using the animation to slide the 2 containers across. So that gives us that transition effect. So we can see that, and really it's, this is just out there on the web. So it's a URL to the actual recipe. I haven't really stored anything. I do have great aspirations of being able to go through my entire pantry and know like what I actually have for food and put that in here. Then maybe I'll draw out our local our local grocery store as to like where everything is. But let's go find that Tetris down here. This is probably one of the hardest things I did. And then the team at Squirrel built theirs with a repeat container, and I'm incredibly jealous because this is all individual objects. And I'm using the timer and it's moving everything down. And then I had to be smart enough to know if it's like hit the top and so forth.
Yeah, this is just awesome. I just love this. This is so cool.
So it was great that the team put out this challenge to make a game like this. But this drove me probably insane. I think I need therapy now, Paul, after building this. The Wordle was actually so much easier than this. But then the repeat container, I think, just blew my mind after this, because the work that went into it to be able to make it all dynamic. And but this is, every one of these is an individual cell with dynamic coloring and so forth. And I'm thinking all you needed to do was build one row, and it would have been smart enough to bring it all down. And like, I'm just,
yeah, but Josh, Rich just said, if it makes you feel any better, he said we cheated. You didn't. You did it the right way.
I did it the right way. Yeah, so all kinds of stuff. I've just been having a blast building stuff in here, from Sankey charts to, and then in the future someday my game will actually work, and we'll be able to come in here and fight monsters. So not today, but soon.
Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, well, next time we want to see Lizard Man, and we want to see that game on the next one. Well, thank you so much, Josh. That was absolutely awesome, and well done again. Building that from scratch on the fly like that. I think we all learned a lot from that. So thanks again. Back to you, Johnny.